Hello, welcome to Jackrabbit Journal. We've got some football and some wrestling coming up in a little bit. Spring practice time right now for football, where they try to determine who's going to replace Cole Anger and Jesse Bobbitt and all those guys on defense that they will lose to graduation. And then wrestling just finished up maybe the best season ever at South Dakota State. We'll talk about that. But first, got to wrap up the basketball seasons. And for the Jackrabbit men, it comes to an end in the first round of the NCAA tournament against Gonzaga. And this is a team the Jacks coach, assistant coach Rob Klinkenfuss told us is the best team the Jacks have played in their 4 trips to the big dance. And that includes Baylor in 2012, Michigan in 2013, and then Maryland last year. Gonzaga, though, is second in the country right now in field goal percentage defense. They held the Jacks to 31% shooting in this game, out-rebounded the Jacks as well by 12. And South Dakota State played some defense too. They held the Zags under 40% shooting, but the number 1 seed in the West wins it by 20 points. And our man David Brown was with the team in Salt Lake City. He has the report right from the arena.
South Dakota State ran with Gonzaga for most of the first half, but it was the Bulldogs who ran away with the game in the second half. The top seed in the West region takes down the 16 seed South Dakota State 66-46 in the first round of the NCAA tournament.
More than what these stats say and more than what the win or the loss says, I just can't say enough how proud I am of our group and how they've competed the last month and a half of the season and into that game, through that game today.
The resiliency of this team is off the charts, and just how we stuck together, it just makes that stretch a really special for us, really emotional for us as we go through it.
South Dakota State actually led this game for the first 18 minutes and 20 seconds until a Zach Collins layup put Gonzaga up 23-22 with 1:40 to go before halftime, and it was a lead that the Zags would never relinquish. However, it seemed like South Dakota State was executing its game plan early on.
We came out strong. Did exactly what we wanted to do, executed offensively and defensively, defensively especially. It did feel like we had a bigger lead at a lot of points in that game.
We were doing a really good job of just kind of packing it in and forcing them to shoot the three-pointers that they probably didn't want to shoot. You know, we got them late in the shot clock, and we kind of got them to a point where they just kind of had to hoist something up. And then our defensive rebounding was really good at that time. We were able to get a good push out on the offensive end too, coming from those defensive rebounds.
South Dakota State had only 1 field goal in the final 7 minutes and 48 seconds of that first half, a Mike Dom 3-pointer, and they were actually scoreless for the final 3.5 minutes of that first half.
You think we can rewind and get a do-over on that period first? Yeah, no, we knew, we talked about it. At some point they were going to go on a run, and we didn't want to make that or have that be because of what we had did. We knew they were a very good team. At some point they were going to get going in transition, and we didn't want to cause our shot selection or turnovers to help ignite that for them.
Despite the offensive struggles, SDSU was only down by 4, 26-22 at halftime. However, Gonzaga increased its lead to double digits in the first 4 minutes of that second half, and the Jacks never seriously threatened again.
We needed to cash in on a few more of those opportunities. We kind of controlled the tempo and the flow of the game, and there was a couple possessions we probably didn't get the best shot at a time we needed it, and then there were some plays that we just didn't finish at times. So, you know, you felt like in the game that we had a little bit of a cushion, and then that quickly went away. So, yeah, we would have liked to try to create a little more separation and put some pressure on them, but they did an unbelievable job continuing to adjust and adapt through the course of the game and try to prevent us from doing that as well.
On Wednesday, head coach TJ Otzelberger said he would take no moral victories away from this game, win or lose, but he was impressed with the Jacks' defensive effort. They held Gonzaga to just 66 points, its second lowest total of the season, and Mike Dom held up defensively against Gonzaga's trio of 7-footers.
For the most part, when we were able to get better shots and we got our defense set in transition, we were able to be successful. I think our guys were really stubborn and sticking with the game plan that we had employed. Obviously, they're a huge team physically, and you've got to figure out how do you want to protect the paint. I thought the focus that our guys showed was critical. I also thought it's just there's something about sports where you just have a look in your eye and you look at your opponent and say, you're going to be in for a fight tonight. And I think our guys did that from start to finish.
Offensively, however, it just never clicked for South Dakota State. They shoot 31% for the ball game and record their lowest point total of the season, 46.
They had hands up every time we were taking shots, and they did a good job being physical with us and not letting us have open cuts and stuff like that. So just give them credit to them. They did a great job tonight.
There's a reason why I think by all the analytic measures, they're the second best defensive team in the country. And they have great length. They have great athleticism. They have physical size. They really do a great job protecting the rim and guarding the three-point line. So they make it really tough on you. I thought they, defensively being in that game and us trying to score against them, and we definitely felt like that presence was there from start to finish.
Obviously, the players and coaches were disappointed in the result, but they were also very reflective and very gracious in the post-game press conference. A lot of understanding of how the team fought its way out of the basement of the Summit League to get to the big dance. And next year, they only lose 2 players, their graduate transfers A.J. Hess and Michael Orris.
That means the world to me. I mean, it's exactly what me and Coach TJ talked about the first time we talked, and exactly what I wanted for my life and for my last season. And to achieve it, with these guys and the group that we have of coaches and players around me, it's unbelievable, and I wouldn't trade it for the world.
That was a really, really confident, well-coached, and tough physical team. I was very impressed with South Dakota State live.
Basketball games are important. But the life lessons at that group, what they learned, the character that they showed, how they can bind together as a team when their back was against the wall, what they've done moving forward as a group, and then the fight that they showed out there. To me, it's the most remarkable team I've been around in terms of togetherness, competitive spirit, and I can't say enough about the pride I take in coaching those young men and what South Dakota State basketball stands for today. And as we move forward, it's something really special, and it's an honor to be a part of it.
With the Jackrabbits in Salt Lake City, Utah, I'm David Brown.
Well, Jacks finished the year 18-17. They won 10 of their last 14 games of the season. And Mike Dahm finishes the season second in the nation in scoring, 25.1 points per game. He is currently 12th on the SDSU career scoring list. And coming up a bit later, we will take a look at who is coming back and who is coming in next season for the Jackrabbit men. But up next, the Jackrabbit women. Did they actually overachieve this year, or was it a season that fell short?
Jackrabbit Journal on Midco Sports Network is presented by Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine, Dakota Land Honda, Service First Federal Credit Union, and JackrabbitCentral.com.
Welcome back to Jackrabbit Journal. Well, it was a half-empty, half-full kind of season for the Jackrabbit women's basketball team. And they did lose in the semifinals of the Summer League tournament, did not make the NCAA tournament, which has become the expectation for this team. But they did overcome the loss of their best player. They still won 23 games and apparently almost got into the national tournament as an at-large selection this year. So I guess you could argue that it was an unsatisfying season, but really only because the bar is set so high and the expectations are so great for this team every year. And of course, fans can be a little unrealistic in how they think things are going to play out every year. The Jacks caught some bad breaks. They lost a couple of close games, still had a sensational season by most standards. Anyway, the Jacks did make the postseason this year. It's the 11th year in a row that they have played in either the NCAA tournament or the WNIT. And they beat Northern Illinois in the first round of the NIT this year, and one of the funnest games at Frost Arena this season. The Jacks put up 86 shots in this game. That is 20 more attempts than any other game this season, and they set a bunch of individual career highs. Carrie Young came out, made her first 5 three-point attempts, finishes with a career-high 28 points. Clarissa Ober scores 17 points, pulls down a career-high 20 rebounds. That is the second most ever in one game for a Jackrabbit player. Lexi Alexander hands out a career-high 8 assists in this game for the Jacks. And Ina Vaiso comes off the bench, makes a pair of threes, and scores a career-high 8 points. And the Jackrabbits run and gun with Northern Illinois, and they win this one 94-84. And then Colorado came to town this past Sunday, and this is a team from the Pac-12 Conference, which had 7 teams selected to play in the NCAA tournament this year. The conference was loaded. Colorado was 5-13 in the Pac-12, but this was a pretty good team. The Jacks get out to a 13-point lead early, but Colorado cuts it to 1 at halftime. Colorado gets out to a 13-point lead in the second half, but the Jacks make a fantastic comeback. They get in a stretch here where they get a 3-pointer from Ober, and then a 3 from Maddie Giebert, and then a three from Ellie Thompson, and then another three from Thompson to come all the way back. Giebert scores on back-to-back driving layups to tie the game at 63. And the Jacks have a chance to win it at the end of regulation, but shots by Alexander and Thompson will not go in. So they get it to overtime, but Colorado gets them in the OT. All Pac-12 guard Kennedy Leonard scores 10 of her 29 points in that extra 5 minutes. Colorado wins it 81-75, and the Jacks finish the season with 23 wins and 9 losses. And Carrie Young, by the way, 20 points in her last game to lead the Jacks, finishes her career with 1,370 points. That puts her in a tie for 14th on the SDSU career scoring list. Well, Young and Ober and Viso all are going to be moving on, but Macy Miller will be back. We got the latest word on her petition for a medical hardship waiver, plus a look at what the Jackrabbit men's and women's basketball rosters are going to look like at the start of next season. That's coming up next. Welcome back. Always fun to look ahead at what your team is going to look like next season. And the Jackrabbit women will welcome Macy Miller back into the lineup. Miller was injured back in December in the 9th game of the season, so she played in few enough games to meet the rules and requirements to apply as a medical hardship case. And it will be the Summit League, not the NCAA, that will make the decision on whether or not Miller is granted another year of eligibility. So this week, the SDSU Compliance Office is putting together the paperwork. They will submit the case to the Summit League, and once that is done, shouldn't take more than a week or two to get an answer. And of course, all indications are that Macy Miller will be granted another season. And that would give her 2 more years in a Jackrabbit uniform. So here is what the women will have coming back and coming in. Lexi Alexander, Ellie Thompson, Tiffany Flotta will be seniors. China Stevens sat out this year, but she will be back, and she will have 1 year left as well. You got Macy Miller, Maddie Giebert, and Sydney Palmer, and Jessica Miras in the junior class. Sydney Tracy, Megan Boltzma, and Annabelle Grettinger will be sophomores, along with Tagan Larson, who sat out this year after transferring from the University of Iowa. And then the freshmen, Maya Sellen, 6'2" forward out of Letcher, South Dakota, played at Sanborn Central High School and had over 2,000 points and almost 1,000 rebounds in her high school days. Tylee Irwin, 6-foot guard from Wahpeton High School in North Dakota, was named Miss Basketball and the Gatorade Player of the Year this year in North Dakota. And then Lindsay Thunick, 5'8" guard out of North Mankato, Minnesota, and she scored more than 2,500 points in her high school career. As for the Jackrabbit men, well, Mike Dahm just finished up his sophomore season, and he is already 12th on the SDSU career scoring list. He is just 27 points out of the all-time top 10 in scoring. He had 878 points this season. This year, that is a Jackrabbit single-season record that was held by Chris White. Dahm had the 10 made threes on 15 attempts game against Fort Wayne this year. That sets a new school record in both the takes and the makes for three-pointers in one game. Dahm tied Jason Semsrat's record with 251 made free throws this season, and Dahm is still the national leader right now in free throws made. And there are rumblings and talk and rumors about Mike Dahm taking a shot at the NBA this year, and he probably will do some workouts, put some feelers out there, but as far as we know, he will be back in Brookings next season. So this is what it will look like on the first day of practice for the 17-18 Jacks. Adam Dykman and Andre Wallace, by the way, not on the list because they will both be transferring out of the program. So they will have 4 seniors, Flatten and Tellinghusen and Severin and Ian Tyson. 4 juniors with Tevin King, Chris Howell, and Mike Dahm, and the addition of Brandon Key. He is a 5'9" point guard from Milwaukee, has played the last 2 years at Southwest Tennessee Community College in Memphis, Tennessee. We'll have 3 sophomores with Sergio Eldarwich, Bo Brown, and another junior college guy, Dallas Polk Hilliard, another guy from TJ Otzelberger's hometown of Milwaukee. He is 6'7", played 1 year at Cochise College in Arizona. And then this will be the first real true incoming freshman class for Coach Otzelberger. You got Alex Arians, a guard out of Madison, Wisconsin, can play either guard spot is the report on him. You got Matt Dentlinger, 6'8" out of Carroll, Iowa, kind of a big horse, but can also get out and shoot the 3-point shot. Alu Dillon, 6'8" out of Wisconsin, and he's kind of the big fish in this class. Had offers from some Horizon League and Missouri Valley schools, and the Jacks will be counting on him to play a role right away. Ryan Kruger, 6'6" out of Hortonville, Wisconsin, counting on him to be a three-point shooter. He made 94 three-point shots in 24 games this season in Hortonville, Wisconsin. So there you go. All right, up next, another big leap forward for the Jackrabbit wrestlers this season, including the first two All-Americans of the Division I era. Welcome back to Jackrabbit Journal. Chris Bono and the South Dakota State wrestling team keep making more and more national noise every season, it seems like, and this year may have topped all of the other seasons that have come before. A long list of team accomplishments this year. A school record crowd, more than 4,000 fans for that home duel against Iowa. The Jacks were ranked in the national top 20 for the last 3 months of the season, had wins at home against Iowa State and Oklahoma, had a 14-5 overall record, and that included 8-1 in the Big 12 Conference. The only loss there was to number 1 ranked Oklahoma State. The Jacks were selected for the national duels for the first time. They finished 3rd at the Big 12 Championships a couple of weeks ago, and then finished 16th out of 69 teams in the NCAA Division I Championships last week. So all those team things, and then the individual accomplishments, and one of the all-time great South Dakota State seasons for Seth Gross. Gross goes 34-2, wins the Big 12 Championship at 133 pounds. And then he goes to the NCAA Championships, wins his first 4 matches, but then falls in the final to Corey Clark of Iowa, 4-3. Gross led that match 3-2 going into the third period, but could not hang on there. So Gross agonizingly close to the national title, but he does become South Dakota State's first Division I All-American. The top 8 finishers at nationals earn that honor. And Gross is joined as an All-American by Jackrabbit 149-pounder Alex Kosher, a senior from Wagner, South Dakota. Kosher won his first 2 matches at nationals, lost to the eventual national champion in the quarterfinals, and then he came back one more match. Kosher finishes 8th at 149 pounds for the Jacks, and South Dakota State accumulates 28.5 team points to finish 16th. Penn State wins the team championship. They had 5 individual champions this year. Well, up next, we will finish up with some football. Spring practice has started. The spring game is coming up. Do they have enough to win another Missouri Valley Conference championship? Some deep thoughts on that and some coaching news and notes for football coming up.
Jackrabbit Journal on Midco Sports Network is presented by Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine, Dakota Land Honda, Service First Federal Credit Union, and JackrabbitCentral.com.
Well, the Jackrabbit football team started spring practice this past Saturday, and they will go a couple of times a week for the next month and then finish up the spring session with the spring game on April 22nd. And this is the time of year to keep a little buzz going, for one thing. The Jacks won their first Missouri Valley Football Conference championship last season. They went 7-1 in the toughest FCS conference in the country, beat North Dakota State in Fargo, among other things, qualified for the playoffs for the 5th year in a row. So a lot of good mojo in the program right now, and spring ball is an opportunity to keep stoking those good vibes. And it's also a chance to see who might be stepping into starting positions left open by graduation. The Jacks will need a right tackle to replace Nick Carr on the offensive line, but otherwise we'll have 4 returning starters on the O-line. And that is about it on offense, really. Almost everybody else is coming back. You got Taryn Christian at quarterback. He was the Missouri Valley Offensive Player of the Year as a sophomore. And who his backup is going to be the question. Dalton Douglas and Cannon Nelson from Mitchell, Alec Cromer, all his possibilities there. You got Brady Mengarelli, Isaac Wallace, Mikey Daniel back at running back, with a handful of young guys, including Clark Winnicky, coming up behind them. Jake Winnicky back for his senior season, and we will see how far out of reach he can put some of the all-time receiving records at SDSU. Winnicky and Adam Anderson and Marquise Lewis and Alex Wilde all back at wide receiver. And then the one-handed snag master, Dallas Goedert, back for one more year at tight end. He led the Jacks and was 6th in the country last year with 92 catches. So offensively, the Jacks are going to try to pick up where they left off and keep that unit rolling. They did get hit a little harder on defense, though. 5 starters and several other guys that played a lot will be gone to graduation. They lose Jesse Bobbitt and Dallas Brown at linebacker, Nick Mears at safety, Cole Langer, Jared Bloom, and Shane Gottlob all on the defensive line. But Christian Rosenboom is back at linebacker. Jake Harms, Eric Kleinschmidt, Dalton Cox have all showed some promise at that position. Might be a true freshman that will play right there as well. Both starting cornerbacks are going to be back with Jordan Brown and Anthony Washington. You got Kellen Solik back at defensive tackle, and we should get to see what Elijah Wilson can do at defensive end. He will be just a redshirt freshman, but could be one of the breakout guys for 2017, and that is always one of the fun things to find out, which new guys are going to step in and be stars. Lots to look forward to in spring practice. Couple of coaching changes. Brian Bergstrom, the new safeties coach. He was the defensive coordinator at Augustana before this. Christian Smith, the new defensive tackles coach for the Jackrabbits, was a player at Toledo a couple of years ago. And then a bit of a promotion for offensive line coach Jason Eck. He was just named the Jackrabbits run game coordinator to go along with his offensive line duties. And we'll see you next fall on Jack Journal.